Welcome to the multicolor card review for Houses of Morrowind. Hand of Degas. Insanely powerful. One of the most powerful 5-drops in the game, and there are already a lot of very powerful 5-drops in the game. This is a card that you're going to put in every Degas deck, whether it's control, aggro, or mid-range. This card is incredible. There's not a lot to say about it. It's a very straightforward card. It's going to be hard for your opponent to remove. There are only a handful of direct answers to it, and I like it a lot. It's going to let Degas decks of all shapes, sizes, and colors race in situations where no other deck could race. Ascended Sleeper is one of the most interesting looking cards in the game. I love it. I love the way that art looks with the color combination of the frame as well. It's a 6 magic, a 3/6 with guard that says at the end of your turn, if you have a creature with 5 or more power, reduce the cost of all creatures in your hand by 1. That's not particularly good. It can be game breaking, don't get me wrong. Anything that reduces cards cost is worth looking at. And reducing Degas himself's cost, awesome. That card is a beast, and the earlier you can get him down, the better off you are, and the more likely you are to win. My problem with this is that it costs 6 and isn't likely to survive combat on turn 6 with most of what most opponents are doing, and as guards, so you can't hide in the shadow lane. You know, if your deck only needs 1 tick off this thing's cost reduction, awesome. In a lot of cases, that's going to be worth it. This card will see play, and it is very powerful. It's just, you know, the part of me that really wants to break things is a little sad that this isn't stronger. But I think any stronger going to be too good. Degas might be the most powerful creature in the game at 12 magicka for an 8/8 with breakthrough, charge, drain, guard, lethal, and ward. This is the new biggest creature in the game with charge. It is insanely powerful. Thank God. Thank Degas, that it's only available to House Degas decks as one of their 75, but every Degas deck is probably going to run this too. Maybe not every Degas deck. I can imagine aggressive Degas decks that don't, but then why are you playing that, not a 2-color deck, right? Go big. Degas is awesome. Balmora Puppeteer is a 2 magic, a 2/2 with plot +1/+1 for each other card you've played this turn. So this card is very strong. I have to admit, I've not put it in any Hlaalu decks that I have built. I just am uncomfortable with the number of cards that cost very little that I would have to play this card. You're going to end up dying to this card when it's a 4/4 or 5/5 and your opponent dropped down a couple of 0 or 1 cost cards in the same turn as it, and that's going to be real cool. But that sort of all-in strategy on this thing makes me pretty uncomfortable. And if you're dropping it in conjunction with another 2-drop on turn 3 and turn 4, it's good. It's not great. It's a bad top deck. It is what it is. Haunted Manor is a card that gets my vote for possibly the card in the set that is most likely to kill you that you don't think is any good. Is the card good? I mean, it's powerful in certain circumstances. In certain circumstances, it's amazing. In the rest of them, it's not good at all. There's a certain window in every game where this card is good. I think I said that about something else while I was doing these reviews. And in those windows, if you can get it to trigger 3 times, you have done amazing and you might win the game. But it encourages you, in my mind, to slow down your gameplay just a little bit. And whether or not that delay is worth the eventual benefit in a world where midrange sorcerer, spell sword, and warrior are still going to exist and still be kicking your ass during that time kind of remains to be seen. I'm not high on this card. The Hlaalu card that I am most impressed with is Duke Venom Dren. It's a 5 magic of 4/4 that says, the first time you play a card each turn, draw a random card from your deck with cost equal to your remaining magicka. This is insanely powerful. One of the most powerful abilities in the game, I'll go so far to say. An example I'm going to use is one that I've done myself. I had a deck where the only 9-cost card was Tazcad. I had this guy on the board, and I knew then that if I played a 3-cost card on turn 12, I would get Tazcad from my deck, and that is crazy powerful. I ran an 11-cost card in my deck. If on turn 12 I played a 1-cost card, I always got that. If I ran a 0-cost card on turn 12, I could always pull my Odaving if I had this on the board when I played it, or whatever, or my Degas, although obviously I guess that can't happen. But you get the idea. This is Altar of Despair levels of calculation required, but even if you don't necessarily know exactly what you're pulling, it's still a lot of value conveniently pulling something that costs exactly what you can cast. This card is awesome. Ridore Forerunner is a 2 magic 1/1 with Charge, Drain, and Ward, which is an interesting color combination, or I'm sorry, an interesting suite of abilities. You rally onto this thing, it gets awesome. That's really all there is to say about it. It's just very straightforward and very powerful card. Bolan Venom is a 3 magic, a 3/3 with Rally. It says, when you rally with no creatures in your hand, first draw him from your deck. So if you have nothing in your hand, you have a creature that says Rally 1. It swings, you draw this guy, he becomes a 4/4. It's very straightforward, it's very strong, and it's an auto-include in every Ridoran deck that runs any Rally creatures, because dropping it on turn 3 is also not unreasonable. Inspiring Kinsman is a 4 magic, a 2/4 with Rally 2, and Last Gasp, give a random creature in your hand +2/+2. This card's real strong, with the caveat that it dies to so much when you play it. It definitely does have the ability to still give something in your hand +2/+2, and you're going to think to yourself, well, it doesn't matter if it gets executed, and then it's going to get hit with a Grizzly Gourmet, and you're going to be real sad. All that being said, I think that it's still strong enough that you should run it. Despite that, just be prepared. And depending on how popular these 3-color Rally decks are, the hate might be so real that the deck gets hated out, because the Rally deck is fragile and needs to win the early game in order to win the game at all. The loss of an Inspiring Kinsman, the tempo loss that you could suffer on that turn, might be enough to lose you the game. Or it might win you the game in a close match where your opponent can't deal with it. Even silenced, this thing is pretty useless. Your opponent doesn't have to kill it or transform it. High risk, high reward. Powerful, though. Temple Patriarch is a... Oops, I don't have all the cards revealed, do I? Let me go back just one. There we go. Archcanon Sarioni is a 4 magic, a 3/3 with Summon, choose one of the blessings of the Tribunal Gods. Those are, give a friendly creature draining guard, summon a Spider Worker, which is a 0/1 neutral creature that draws you a card, and give all friendly creatures +1/+1. You can pay 7 for this guy to do all these things. How good is this? This is a very hard card to evaluate. I think you probably include this in every Tribunal Temple deck, but I can see an argument for not, frankly, because it's not super strong. It's good enough to be one of your 75. In some decks, this is great if you feel like building a mid-range board control via creature deck in these colors. This guy is at his strongest, I think. Otherwise, I'm not super impressed by him. That's really all there's to say about that. Temple Patriarch is really, really, really strong in some situations in one specific deck, and not so great the rest of the time, although you're only putting it in one 3-color combination. So it's not like you're obligated to have a card here that's good in a lot of different decks. Although some decks, and here's the thing, this color combination I think doesn't actually lend itself very well to the Exalt creatures, who I think are more useful in 2-color decks, or in a 3-color deck that doesn't give, honestly, in a 2-color deck. This guy could be a massive swing, triggering all of your Exalts. A massive swing. And you're going to see people who just have this absolutely nuts curve with 4 Exalt creatures of various shapes and sizes on the board that weren't exalted, and then slam their Temple Patriarch and completely dominate the game for the next 2 turns until it's over and you lost. The rest of the time, this card's not very good. It is what it is. Priority Elm City, however, is a card that you probably run in the Tribunal Temple deck we're all expecting to see, which is just a straight control deck. Unlike the other two, you don't really need to have anything on the board. In fact, you're probably better off not having anything on the board when you play this card. Sets each creature's power and health to 1. That's real strong for an 8 magicka effect. It is, in some situations, going to be better than Dawn's Wrath. In some situations, it's going to be worse, but it's always going to be very, very strong. Mummifying basically every creature on the board. Better than mummifying. Tavani Cat's Paw is a 3 magicka 2/2 with Last Gasp, draw a card, but if you sacrifice it, you draw 2 cards instead. In Tavani Altar decks, Tavani Betray decks, if that ever is a thing, this card's real good. Even just the Last Gasp, draw a card is okay on a 3 magicka 2/2. It's not bad. It's never going to be bad. If you sacrifice it, it's going to be a lot better. That's really all there is to say about this card. I am not excited by it, but I am also glad it exists, and it certainly has a role to play in certain decks. Sun and Shadow is an incredibly strong card in a color combination that is sort of unsteady right now. A lot of strong decks have been theory crafted already and tested on the test servers. Telvanni is still kind of finding its legs. Sun and Shadow is, of course, in all those decks because its ability to smooth out your 75 card deck by grabbing the action that you need. A 4/6 body for 5 is also not unreasonable, and the card itself is real strong. I like this card a lot. It has a very specific role to play, but I think you include it in every single Telvanni deck you build. The same cannot be said for Degas Experiments, which as a 9 Magicka action summons a copy of a friendly creature and has Betray. That's a lot of Magicka. Doppelganger does the same thing for 5 Magicka. And the suggestion here, I guess, is that for almost, it's like in the movie Contact. Why buy one when you can have two for twice the price? I don't know, because a lot of times one is good enough. What do you do with this card? I don't know. I saw Turquoise Link, I think it was, shuffle like up to 100 cards in his deck with multiple Teravanas on the board. And that was cool. I think he won the game. I don't know, I was just marveling over what he was doing. Degas Experiment's an insane card that we're going to have fun doing stupid shit with. It's not necessarily constructed playable in most decks, but I am certainly excited to do some dumb things with it. We'll find out just how dumb we can get with it, I'm sure, in the next few weeks. But, I like this card because it encourages you to build something new and try something different and can do some pretty wonky stuff. But, it's not going to be in every deck that could run it. Oh god, I feel like I've been doing this forever. I'm losing my voice. Neutral cards. Houses of Morrowind reviews. We're almost done. Jube. I gotta preview this card. I gotta debut this card with Charmer. It's funny. It's a 1/1 for 1 with Slay, change into Saint Jube, Eradicator of the Winged Menace. That's a 5/5 unique guard that can't be damaged or targeted by Cliff Racers, Cliff Hunters, and Cliff Striders. I don't know, man. Occasionally you're going to transform this guy early. It's going to be epic, and you're going to be real satisfied. And the rest of the time, it's worse than Shadowmare, who's a pretty reasonable card that no one plays. So, I don't know. Good luck. Godspeed transforming this guy. I hope to do it myself one day, but, it's not as good. It doesn't look as good as I hoped it would, given everything else we've seen from the expansion. Which isn't to say it's bad. It's just high risk, high reward. Mudcrab Merchant. This, on the other hand, I think is one of the strongest 1-drops ever printed. Besides playing a role in the Unite the Houses decks, which we'll get to in just a second, it's a 1/3 for 1. Great stat line, about as good as it gets for a 1 Magicka creature. He shows you 2 random cards. Any cards in the game. You give 1 to your opponent and 1 to yourself. Most of the time, you're going to be able to give yourself a really good card and your opponent a really crappy card. Not all the time. Sometimes you're both getting crappy cards, although hopefully they get the worst one. And sometimes you both get good cards. Hopefully you get the better one. I like this card. It's a Hearthstone card, but I like this card. In a world where this card becomes constructed playable is kind of a scary world, right? Like, I don't want to live in that world. I want to be the only guy playing Mudcrab Merchant and having a jolly good time doing it. It walks a fine line between being really, really strong and strong enough to be competitive, and being strong enough to be good in meme decks. I guess time will tell which one that is, but it's a strong enough card that if you open them, you should try running them just to get a feel for it. Dwemer Puzzle Box. Activate, discard the top card of your deck, last gasp, draw a card. 2 Magicka, 3 uses. I don't know. I think that the deck that would really exploit this doesn't exist yet. That's all I have to say about it. I don't think it's that strong. Stolen Pants. This is a funny card. This card was reviewed or previewed by Sody Mag and Hiking Emmerich team. It's funny. It's 2 Magicka +1/+1. Not terrible. Summon a 0/1 Sheepish Dunmer in the other lane from wherever you put the Stolen Pants. When the creature that it's attached to dies, or this gets destroyed somehow, you put this on the Sheepish Dunmer, and it becomes a 1/2. I don't know. I mean, as far as, as any cheap sort of useful item goes, it's not bad in Arena. I don't even think this is particularly good with... oh man, like I said, I'm losing my mind here. Gardener of Swords. But feel free to try it out. It's funny. Dismantle, 3 magicka, action, destroy an enemy support or neutral creature. A world where this is good is a really messed up meta. That's all I have to say about it. Don't draft this. Don't play it in Constructed. If the meta becomes such that you need this in a tournament deck, maybe you can run it then, but that's a scary world. This card would be more useful in a sideboard world. Silent Pilgrim, 3 magicka, 1/1, summon, draw a random multi-attribute card from your deck. In a 75-card deck that wants to specifically draw a certain multicolor, multi-attribute card. And I'm thinking specifically of Tribunal Temple in this case, where you might very likely run, where you could build a deck where you only run the 7 magicka 5/5 that triggers all your results. This card could be useful. As it stands, I don't know that there are a lot of multi-attribute cards that you really want to pull out with a tutor like this. But having this card around means that a lot more combos are theoretically possible if those circumstances were to arise. Unite the Houses is our new win condition. This is not unique. It's a 3 magicka action that says if you have at least 1 card of each attribute in play, you win the game. This is both easier and harder than you might expect. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. I've done it. And sometimes it's real easy. Sometimes it's almost impossible, or if not completely impossible. It's stronger and easier to. It's a stronger card and an easier to meet condition than Jarl Balgruuf by a significant margin, who is our only other alternate win condition so far. These decks will be a thing, and my concern is that if these decks get good enough, there's no reason not to play them, because a deck that can consistently pull this off doesn't have to ever interact with their opponent except to remove their stuff so they don't die before they meet their combo conditions. That said, I'm going to spend a lot of time doing this. Yagrum Bargarn. Yeah, this is me. That's me. 3 magicka, 2/4, Dwemer, the only Dwemer in the set. Summon, draw a Dwemer from your discard pile and give it +2/+2. What is there to say besides this goes in every Dwemer deck, every single one of them. It's really good there and unplayable everywhere else. Finally, Blueclaw Matron, one of the coolest looking cards in the set. The last card we're reviewing, 7 magicka, 3/8 Dreg, completely useless. Thank you for joining me for this long journey through all of the Houses of Morrowind cards. I hope you have as much fun playing with them as I do. Or whatever. I didn't even think that through. See you on the ladder.